You know how it is, right? Some days you feel like, yeah, I've totally got this parenting thing, and then bam, the next minute it's just chaos. Tantrums, homework drama, the what's for dinner battle.
Yeah,
It can get, well, pretty overwhelming.
it really can.
So today we're diving into some practical ways to handle those moments, maybe with a bit more confidence, a stronger grip on things.
Exactly. Yeah, the focus for this deep dive is really understanding and maybe starting to build that mental toughness, specifically for parents. We're
Mhm.
trying to get beyond just sort of getting through the day.
Moving from surviving to thriving, maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got some great source material, a recording from the Parenting Confidently Summit.
Right, featuring Penny Mallory. And her background is, well, it's not your typical parenting guru setup.
No, definitely not. She was a rally driver, presented car programs, an adventurer.
Wow.
And crucially for us, she's also a parent.
Yeah.
2 grown kids. So her insights aren't just theory. They come from actual lived experience,
Mhm.
often in pretty high-pressure situations.
Professionally and personally, it sounds like.
Mm. So our goal today is to unpack what this mental toughness really means for parents, how it plays out day to day, maybe how you can spot when you're feeling a bit drained in that area.
And importantly, what you can actually do about it. Actionable steps.
Exactly. Concrete strategies to help strengthen that mindset. We want to give you those useful nuggets, those aha moments without adding more overwhelm.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump in. So, mental toughness. When Penny talks about it in a parenting context, what does she actually mean? It's not about being some kind of robot parent, is it? Never feeling stressed.
Oh, definitely not. No. Penny sees it as more of a personality trait. It kind of explains why we react the way we do, why we do things, or maybe why we don't do things.
Okay.
And for parents, fundamentally, it's about your ability to manage all that stuff, the stress, the pressure, the constant challenges, the changes, everything that comes with raising kids. It's like your baseline for navigating family life.
Right. So it's less about being perfectly calm all the time and more about your underlying capacity to handle the whirlwind.
Precisely. And she breaks it down into 4 key areas, which is helpful.
Ah, okay. What are those?
So first is a sense of control. And that's kind of twofold feeling. You have some control over your life generally, but also, maybe more importantly for parents, managing your own emotional reactions when things get heated.
Uh-huh. That makes sense. What's next?
Second is how you view challenges. Do you see them automatically as like threats, things that are going to derail everything? Or can you frame them more as opportunities maybe to learn something or find a new way?
Okay, control, challenge.
Third is commitment.
Hmm.
So sticking with tasks, not just starting things, but seeing them through, even when it gets really tough or boring.
Hmm.
That perseverance.
Every parent knows that one.
Definitely. And the fourth is confidence. Believing in your own abilities as a parent, but also feeling confident enough to engage with others, ask for help, connect with your kids, your partner, your support network.
Control, challenge, commitment, confidence. That's a really clear framework. You can see how, yeah, if one of those areas is shaky, parenting would feel a lot harder.
Absolutely.
Now, Penny also mentioned the difference between mental toughness and resilience. What's the distinction there? I often hear those terms used interchangeably.
Yeah, it's a subtle but important point she makes. Resilience, she says, is often about bouncing back after something tough happens. You face adversity, you recover, often because you
Yeah.
have to.
Right. Survival mode almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Mental toughness has that recovery element too, but Penny suggests it's more proactive. It's maybe bouncing back because you want to, because there's this underlying optimism, this belief you can actually influence things. It's got more of a forward-looking sort of growth mindset feel to it.
Okay, so resilience is bouncing back because you must. Mental toughness might be bouncing back because you see a way forward because you choose to.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
All right, so we understand what it is, but how do we know when our own mental toughness is maybe flagging a bit? What are the signs we should look out for as parents?
Well, Penny makes a really key point here. It's super individual.
Yeah.
What sends one parent into a spiral, another might just shrug off. There's no single checklist.
Right.
But she argues most of us deep down, we actually know our own signs. We know when we're getting tired, stretched too thin, when we're just not coping as well as usual. The real issue often isn't noticing the signs. It's
Ignoring them, pushing through.
exactly pushing through, telling ourselves it's fine, maybe not wanting to admit it.
So it's really about tuning into ourselves more. What kind of examples did she give? Things we might be brushing off.
She mentioned some common ones like maybe your sleep quality tanks, or you find yourself getting really irritable, snapping more easily than normal,
Yeah, I think many parents can relate to that.
or maybe becoming forgetful, finding it hard to concentrate. But again, she stresses these are just examples. It could be headaches for one person, stomach issues for another.
It varies.
It really varies. The main thing is recognizing your pattern and taking those first niggling feelings of overwhelm seriously, not just writing them off as, oh, that's just parenting.
Okay. So, acknowledge the signs. Step one. But then what? What can we actually do to start building that mental toughness back up, especially when we're right in the thick of it? Penny talks a lot about mindset, right?
She does. And her main strategy for dealing with that, or everything is too much, feeling is actually quite simple, conceptually at least. It's about breaking things down.
Breaking down big tasks.
Exactly. Big projects, big problems, overwhelming situations.
Mm.
Break them into tiny, manageable steps.
She uses this great analogy about climbing stairs. Thinking about tackling 420 steps feels impossible, right? Just exhausting.
Yeah, I wouldn't even start.
But focusing just on taking that one next step, that feels doable. And once you've done that one, the next one seems a bit less daunting, and so on. That's so simple, but
Yeah, powerful. It reframes it completely, takes it from this huge mountain to just the next step.
yeah.
She also mentioned something about a view from the bridge. What's
Yeah.
that about?
Yeah, that's about creating a bit of mental distance, like deliberately stepping back from the heat of the moment. Imagine you're looking down on the situation from above, or maybe seeing it through someone else's eyes.
Getting some perspective.
Exactly. It helps lower the emotional temperature, lets you see it a bit more objectively, makes it feel less huge, less personal, maybe more solvable. It all comes back to that idea of focusing on one small thing you can do now, instead of getting swamped by the whole picture.
Okay, so managing our own mindset is key. How does that then ripple outwards? How does our mental toughness or lack thereof impact our kids?
Well, the specific impact will vary, of course, depending on the child and the situation.
Yeah.
But Penny's core point is pretty clear. If a parent is constantly stressed, feeling overwhelmed, running on empty, it's just harder to be that calm, patient, supportive presence they want to be and that kids need. It makes sense. It's hard to pour from an empty cup.
Precisely. So looking after our own mental state isn't selfish. It's actually fundamental to being able to support our children effectively.
It's that put your own oxygen mask on first idea.
Exactly like that. And Penny also brings up the importance of figuring out what we can actually control versus what we can't.
Ah, yes. The serenity prayer concept almost.
Kind of. She really emphasizes taking that step back we talked about, getting clear on, okay, what parts of this situation can I genuinely influence and what parts are just outside my control? Like her example of the weather,
Right, you can't change the weather.
no matter how much you worry about it. So focus your energy where it can actually make a difference. Focus on what you can influence, maybe your reaction, the house rules, seeking support, rather than wasting energy on the uncontrollable.
And she shared a pretty raw story about her own experience with this, didn't she, as a single parent?
She did, very openly.
Yeah.
She talked about raising two teenage daughters on her own with very little money and just feeling completely underwater at times, like she couldn't cope.
I imagine many listeners can connect with that feeling, regardless of their specific circumstances.
Absolutely. But she uses that experience to highlight how vital it is to first acknowledge that feeling, wow, this is really hard right now, and then consciously decide, okay, how can I break this down? What's the one next step I can take? And she also links us back to the importance of parents being the ones in charge, setting those clear boundaries. That structure itself can make things feel more manageable.
That structure is key. She had some other really practical examples based on her life, too, right?
Definitely. She talked about the reality of financial stress and those feelings of not being good enough that can creep in, and specifically about running the household. She really hammered home the need for clear rules.
Rules the kids understand.
Yes, rules they understand the why behind, ideally. And then this is the crucial part, consistently enforcing them. She pointed out that when boundaries get blurry or inconsistent, that's often when things start to unravel and feel chaotic.
That consistency is the hard part, though, isn't it? Especially when you're exhausted.
Oh, totally. It takes real inner strength sometimes.
Yep.
Which leads to her point about following through.
Mm-hmm.
If you say something's going to happen, a consequence or whatever,
You have to stick to it.
you have to stick to it even when it's difficult. She calls it the real threat, not in a scary way, but meaning your words have weight. Kids learn they can rely on what you say. It builds credibility. It's all part of being proactive, she argues, rather than just reacting to whatever flares up next.
It sounds like a more intentional way of parenting. She also just flat out says parenting is exhausting, doesn't she? No sugarcoating.
No, none at all. She's very upfront. It's tiring work, even when things are going well. And during tricky phases or crises, it can feel utterly depleting. She completely validates that feeling many parents have sometimes of just wanting to throw in the towel.
It's good to hear that acknowledged.
And it loops back again to self-awareness. Really knowing your signs of being maxed out, eating habits change, sleep goes haywire, constant headaches, whatever it is for you, and trying to catch it early. Don't just let it build and build.
Okay, so let's say we do catch it. We're in that moment, feeling completely swamped. What's the immediate first aid? What does Penny suggest?
Her number one piece of advice is incredibly simple, but not always easy to do in the moment. Stop.
Just stop.
Just stop. Pause. Take a breath. Maybe physically step away from that situation if you can, even for just 60 seconds. She explains that when we're right in the middle of it, problems often feel way bigger and more impossible than they actually are.
That's so true. A little distance can change everything.
It really can. So
Yeah.
consciously give yourself that pause. Could be a minute, could be an hour. Maybe you need to park the issue until tomorrow if possible. Whatever gives you a bit of breathing room.
Mhm.
And she specifically mentions taking a few slow, deep breaths. It actually helps calm your body's stress response.
Okay, breathe.
And then once you've got that tiny bit of space, try to focus on just the single most important thing you need to deal with right now. Not everything at once, just one thing.
And this pause, it's not about running away from the problem, right?
No, definitely not avoidance. She calls it a mindful break. It's a strategic retreat to regain clarity. It's not ignoring it. It's preparing to deal with it better.
Mm.
The idea is to use that pause to look at it again, figure out what really needs doing today, what can wait, and then make a small plan. Break it down into those manageable steps again.
Stop, breathe, step back, focus on one thing, make a small plan. Okay, that feels doable, tangible.
Practical.
So as we sort of bring this all together, what's Penny's final message? What encouragement does she leave us with?
She really frames parenting as this long game. It's a marathon, she says, not a sprint. Mastery, if that's even the right word, takes a lifetime. It's an ongoing process.
That takes the pressure off a bit.
It does. And she says something really relatable about how she understands parenting much better now her kids are grown and wishes she knew then what she knows now. But, that wisdom comes with the experience.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She also stresses how universal these struggles are. It doesn't matter how much money you have or where you live. Parenting challenges people profoundly. It shapes us.
It's good to remember we're all in this sort of messy boat together.
Yeah. And she comes back saying, look, it is difficult, it's hard, it's impossible, she says, to get perfectly right. So stop aiming for perfection. It's about the continuous effort, learning as you go.
And her core practical advice again.
Set those rules, set those boundaries, and do your absolute best to stick to them. That consistency creates breathing space. It stops things, hopefully, from feeling completely out of control.
Right. So wrapping up this deep dive, we've looked at Penny Mallory's take on mental toughness for parents. Those 4 C's. Control, challenge, commitment, confidence. We talked about recognizing our own warning signs when we're struggling.
And those practical strategies like breaking big things down into small steps, taking that view from the bridge, the mindful break.
Yeah, and remembering the impact our state has on our kids and the huge importance of setting and holding those boundaries consistently.
And just accepting, like Penny says, that it's a journey. Constant learning, constant adapting, progress, not perfection.
So maybe for you listening right now, just take a second. What's maybe one tiny thing, one small step you could take today, maybe even right now, that might help you feel just a little bit more in control or a tiny bit less overwhelmed in your parenting world?
Yeah, just something small to think about. These ideas today are really just a starting point. See what resonated, what felt relevant for you right now, and maybe think about what you might want to explore more on your own.